No one else is going to tell your story. And if you're not, someone else will at some point in time.
What makes Tennessee so beautiful as a state? I know it's the mountains and the rivers, but like compared to the other 50 states.
What has made us successful is the people of Tennessee being so friendly, so open, so welcoming. It allows people when they come here and experience Tennessee for the first time, regardless of where you are, they're like, man, I really like that place. And I think it gets back to why that person said it felt like America. Mm-hmm. It's because people were friendly and willing to open up their homes, help them out. You know, in Tennessee, for the most part, the vast majority of people, if you need help and you pick up a phone or you're on the side of the highway, somebody's going to stop and try to help you.
Well, there's a reason we're called the volunteer state.
Yeah, that's right.
Welcome to the XPLR.NASH Podcast. We're so glad you're taking the time to listen to today's show. Today, we are going to be talking about Tennessee as a whole. We're going to be talking about the economy of Tennessee, businesses coming and going into Tennessee. We're going to be talking about infrastructure. And so joining me today is the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton. Cameron, thank you so much for driving in from Crossville to join us on today's show. Why did you get into politics?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Look, I got into politics originally when I graduated college. I usually told
And you went to the University of Knoxville, right?
Yeah, University of Tennessee at Knoxville. And I majored in political science. And so I told people, like, when I left, I had all these job opportunities for political science majors, which really there were none. And so I was trying to find a job, and there was a former state senator that I knew when I was in high school. I went to Oak Ridge High School in East Tennessee, grew up in East Tennessee, 8th generation Tennessean, and he was running a campaign for reelect. And so I needed a job. He needed someone to help. And so I got on that campaign, and he and I started working, and he got reelected. But I learned a lot about what I liked at UT, which was marketing, business, communication, wordsmithing, advertising.
That school is known and great for all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So it all kind of bled in. I was like, man, this is great. And competition. I played basketball growing up, played in high school. So it kind of took everything that I really loved and put it into one thing. Later in life, the interesting story is that was Randy McNally, who's now the lieutenant governor. And so that's the interesting story of that. And so that's what got me into politics. And I went into, found some jobs in sales and business development and so forth. Moved to Crossville, Tennessee back in 1998. Been there ever since. And there's an opportunity where the people of Cumberland County didn't feel like that their current state representative was meeting their needs, meaning wasn't listening to them, doing what they asked. They had some meetings. Elected officials met with the person. Business people met with the person. Constituents met with the person and said, we don't think you need to go down this road, and wouldn't listen. And so they said, well, we need somebody who will listen. And so I wasn't the first or second choice. They came to me. I ran against an incumbent Republican in the primaries, who it was. Ended up winning, and that was in 2010, took office in 2011.
Was it, I was reading somewhere in your biography that you ran for mayor of Crossville 2008?
I did. Yeah, a little bit before that, lost by, I believe it was 34 votes.
Wow.
So basically 70 people.
What was that feeling during that time?
It was interesting. Look, I worked on a lot of campaigns in my life, and Congressman Van Hillary was one. His governor's race was another, and then some DA races. And so when you're working on campaigns, you're always having to talk about things that they believe in. Even if you may not believe in exactly what they believe in, you still have to talk about what
you have to sell them. You have to sell them. Yes.
And so it was very refreshing for me to talk about what I believed in and what I wanted to do. And so ran for mayor, lost by 30, 34, 32.
Was this for mayor of Crossville or for the county?
Crossville, so city mayor.
Okay.
And so the biggest hurdle I had to overcome in those years was I wasn't from Crossville.
Okay.
And so running for that.
So even being from Oak Ridge and being in Knoxville, that's still.
Yeah, I mean, you're a small rural community, and I was running against someone who lived there their entire life, went to high school there, born there. Mm-hmm. And so it was a hurdle I had to get over, got close, couldn't quite get it. But then when I ran for state rep in 2010, they viewed me as one of them. And so that aided.
What did you learn between the two different campaigns?
Well, that's a great question. Look, I think people want to be informed. People want to make the right decision. What I learned on the mayor's race, there's people that I know I didn't get their vote because I didn't get a chance to meet with them. It's hard to meet with everybody else. And so they weren't happy with what was going on, but they didn't know me. So they went with what they knew.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so that's what I learned from that race. From the state rep race, what I learned is what I came back with when the people got me to run and the person wasn't listening was it was people before politics. And so when you look at all my signs, you look at everything, all my things, it says people before politics, meaning the people wanted them to do something in their district and they put politics aside because the issue was a very political issue, not a policy issue that was for the people. And so the person that I beat was politics over people. And so I became people before politics.
One thing that always impressed me about going through Cumberland County and then just filming there for a couple of days, a couple of weeks ago, is how intentional you are about the billboards. Like welcome to Cumberland County, and like, I think I did maybe like 250 miles in the county, maybe even more. And Cumberland County has some of the most beautiful areas in the state of Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
The largest sinkhole in the United States is there, and you're like, why is this here?
Your SC code.
Yeah, and that place was stunning. We crashed the drone there, unfortunately.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it almost hit a power line, and that would have caused a really bad fire, and it would have been really bad. So, but on the branding side of things, I think you've done really well, where you're welcoming people into Crossville. People know who you are, but in that 250 miles, maybe even 500 miles I did throughout the county, I think I saw maybe 8 billboards, give or take.
So
how has social media impact maybe local Tennessean elections, and how has it impacted you?
Yeah, I mean, look, social media, what it's done is lower the cost of a campaign to a certain degree because you can touch more people at a lower cost, whether it's through Facebook, digital media. Digital media is cheaper than printing or mailing something or putting something on TV or cable. So it's really helped lower the cost in some aspects to touch people. Look, the bad thing about social media is you can put anything you own it, and whether it's true or not true or half fact, non-fact, whatever, it does drive a message, and you have to be very careful about what that looks like. But billboards, what I try to tell people is if you're a business or if you're an elected official, you're the only one that can tell your story. No one else is going to tell your story. And if you're not, someone else will at some point in time.
Yep.
And so the billboards, and I advertise year round. If you turn on WOW 102.5 or iHog in Cumberland County, you would hear my radio ads year round too about things that we're doing. And so I take branding to be very serious, and I do it all the time, just like a business would.
How do you handle the pressure of social media and the negativeness of social media? Especially what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, you just have to deal with it, right? I mean, that's the problem with politics. You look in Washington, you look at the state, you look at local level. That's just the way it is, and so it takes a while to be able to take the hits and not let it affect you. But you just have to know that people have other purposes for doing that, and you just have to believe in yourself and believe what you're doing is right, and keep moving.
So let's talk about the relationship of Nashville and Tennessee.
Yeah.
For a couple years there, it seemed really, really unsteady, uncertain. The comptroller was going to come in and possibly take over the finances of Nashville. This was just, I think, 4 years ago, under John Cooper's administration. And it seems from the offset that Freddie O'Connell and the governor are getting along, and they're actually trying to do things together. What's your observation of this?
Yeah, no, I think we're doing better. I mean, one of the things in politics is even with Nashville or Memphis or Knoxville or Chattanooga, they're all run by Democrat mayors that we have to work with. You have to work with people. We might not agree on everything, but you still have to work together. And so there are some things that happened in Nashville where things were said and promises were made and they were undone in the end, and that hurts the relationship. Mayor O'Connell hasn't done that. He's been very good, and we have conversations, we have lunch, we go talk, and we try to figure out a great Nashville benefits a great Tennessee. We have to have Nashville performing well to have opportunities in Tennessee and to do things. And same thing with Memphis and Knoxville. Our biggest cities are the biggest draw right now. Now, as you can see in the rural areas, once we get you here, we can put you into a lot of different things that maybe you weren't considering when you first came into Tennessee. But we have to have a thriving Nashville and a Memphis for our state to continue to be blessed and continue to moving forward.
What's your thoughts on the infrastructure of Tennessee right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's pretty good. I mean, look, not everybody in Tennessee in rural areas have running water. You still have well water, so we're trying to work on that aspect. We've had a lot of growth, and so a lot of times when you look at the road system, there's more traffic than what people would like. and you can have growth, but when you have exponential growth, it becomes you can't keep up with it. And then you had inflation and cost of living increases. And so Governor Lee and Commissioner Ely we put a couple $2 billion into helping with the roads and doing choice lanes and doing some things to try to get us up and going. Trying to keep up with infrastructure with growth is always hard.
It's extremely hard.
Because not only is it with growth, then you have to also do it and have it for replacement and other things when it breaks and stuff. So it becomes very costly, and we have to work well with the cities and the counties in our state to help provide what they need to, as well as the state trying to provide the infrastructure as well.
So what the day-to-day of Speaker of the House? I know when you're in session, you're nonstop in Nashville, but when you're not in session, you're able to actually go work a consulting job. So what's the day-to-day like as the Speaker of the House for Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of calls. There's lots of meetings. When I'm in session, it's totally devoted to session, 5 days. We're here Monday.
And session is usually the end of January to...
mid-April to 1st of May, somewhere in there.
And it's every year. Texas is every other year.
Texas is very unique, and Nebraska is even more unique on their General Assembly. But what I will say is Monday through Thursday, we're in session. Or on the floor or in committees. I usually have to stay for Friday because I have other meetings and things that we need to work through. The part that people don't realize about speakers, we have 200 plus employees in the House. And so I'm over all those employees. So we have all this other stuff that the speaker has to do. It's not just about what happens in the General Assembly. It's like a small business that you're having to run. And so are those 200 employees like assistants to the other people in the House? Assistants to research, to other areas, the clerk's office. And so it's just an accumulation of all that. Yeah.
And then I assume there's a couple, like a handful of lawyers on staff for the House as well.
They're joint employees. So that would be, we do have joint employees between the House and Senate. So legal is one of those departments where we both share that responsibility.
Okay. And so on the day-to-day management, what happens when you're not in session? You're still having to manage.
Yeah, you need a very good staff, which I have. And then I'm probably in Nashville 1 to 2 days a week. Today was one of my office days to be here. And then we travel 1 to 2 days, and then I'm in Crossville the rest. And I'm working at the bank. The nice thing about the bank is it's business development, so I work with them. And so my job is to work with other businesses in the area and see if we can meet their needs financially or whatever way, which really works well for me because I'm not supposed to be in the bank. I'm supposed to be outside the bank.
How is the balance of managing 200 employees, but then also doing a consulting gig?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, but, you have a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are much bigger than what I have to do, which I'm not comparing myself at all. You have people who have all these different small businesses. So, look, I mean, I think it works well. You have to be pretty good with your time management skills and other things and multitask and be able to also make sure you keep good notes because it's easy for things to fall through if you're not thinking about it. And, everybody has those moments where it's like, okay, I had this conversation today and what was I supposed to do again? So you have to be very aware of how you keep notes and what you need to do.
What is one thing that the public doesn't know about the General Assembly that we should?
The vast majority of people there are good people, Republican, Democrats, and they're there for the right reasons. Every now and then you get people there who are more about self than they are about the state. But for the most part, the bulk of the people who are serving in the General Assembly, House members, Senate members, they care about Tennessee. They care about their communities. We may vote differently because you have a little different philosophy sometimes. But at the end, we all care about Tennessee and get into a place to where we want it to be the envy of the U.S.
Speaking of envy, we are the envy.
We are.
I can't think of a better state than Tennessee. Texas comes close. Florida comes close. But from an economic standpoint, from a location standpoint, the humidity kind of sucks sometimes.
Depending on what part of the state you're in.
Yeah, depending on what part of the state you're in. And it feels just recently like that humidity is slapping you in the face when you walk outside. Why is Tennessee becoming the envy of America?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I will tell you, I've had an opportunity to get to know and work with Governor Lee, who I really like and really love, and I think he's done a great job, and he's a great person. First Lady is too, and look, I think what it is when he travels around, I'm with him sometimes, and one time when we were together, we were in a small rural community, and you run into people and like, when you're in Crossville, I moved from California, I moved from Michigan, I moved from New York. And so you usually ask the question, why'd you move here? And so the governor and I were together, and the person came up and was telling the governor about how great Tennessee is. And I moved here, and he goes, well, let me just ask you, what made Tennessee different for you? Like, why did you choose Tennessee? He goes, because it felt like America, right? So I think what people are trying to get to is the things that Tennessee does, which is freedom and liberty and other things to where they can live their life and they can feel like they're in America from 10, 15 years ago, as far as what your freedoms are, not so much the policies and stuff, but they have the opportunity to be successful. I think people are looking at Tennessee that way. And I think that's why we're successful for people migrating to Tennessee. As far as businesses migrating to Tennessee, I think a lot has to do with regulation and tax structure. And look, 2 years ago, I believe the Southeast surpassed the Northeast in GDP.
Yes. Yeah, I remember saying that.
Which is a huge thing that's never happened.
Never.
So I think there's a Southeastern, South United States thing feel too, where people are like, hey, let's go down there. Why do I have to be in New York? And, people can remote work from anywhere. So you can live anywhere now in a lot of situations. You can run a business from anywhere. You no longer have to be there. And I think more people are looking at Tennessee and other states in the South.
Speaking of the business environment, what in the business world, what's one business that Nashville is missing? Or not Nashville, Tennessee is missing? Is it more data centers? Is it more energy related things? Is it like a combination of both?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I haven't thought about it. Look, I mean,
there's everything. There's nuclear here. There's healthcare. There's tourism, manufacturing, agriculture. Everything is here. Maybe a few things I'm thinking overseas that you can only find overseas, but every type of business is here. So it'd be interesting to see what type of business Tennessee needs.
It'd be a great question for me to ask Commissioner McWhorter with Economic Community Development. Like, in the big scheme of things, what are we missing? I mean, we're close to being the number one car manufacturer in the U.S.
And we're one of the best distribution states in the country.
We are. And then you have the healthcare capital. There's more healthcare companies that are located out of Middle Tennessee than anywhere else across the state. Across the nation. You have XAI going into Memphis for the data centers that's driving Google and Amazon coming in. We have
Blue Oval coming in.
Yeah, we have Blue Oval coming in.
There's all the investment in Oak Ridge with nuclear, the micronuclear reactors.
Congressman Wamp invested back in the day from Chattanooga to Oak Ridge, the corridor, the technology corridor, which has really helped us. We have Oak Ridge National Labs has the world's largest supercomputer that partners with the University of Tennessee. We have a lot of great things going. I think it's more from the standpoint is you want to continue to build and grow, but you also don't want to lose what you've gained. And so being very careful about what you want to do in the future and your vision for the future to continue forward. But, the way I would look at it is look, when you're buying stocks, if you're playing stocks, you want to be diversified, right? You don't want to have everything in one thing, because if one thing tanks, you're done. And I think Tennessee's done a very good job of getting businesses to come into our state and helping small businesses grow to make sure that we're diverse in what sectors we're in. So if something does happen, we're not have a catastrophic failure. We can absorb it and keep moving forward.
Well, I think so. One thing, like with that being in mind, that Tennessee has done really, really well, and you could speak more into this, is the rainy day fund.
Yeah.
We're one of the only states, if I think off the top of my mind, that has a surplus in our rainy day fund where we're not having to pull from more debt. Could you talk more about the rainy day fund that the state has?
Yeah, the rainy day fund is like your savings account at home, right? And we hope people have a savings account at home. And when Governor Haslam came into office in 2011, the rainy day fund was less than, I think, $170 million.
Which is
nothing.
On an operational budget for a state's $55 billion.
And then it was $30 billion, okay. So it wasn't much. You wouldn't survive maybe a day, 2 days.
Yeah. That won't even cover payroll for a week, right?
It was a problem. And so then what we've increased it to about 2.2 billion in these 12 years. And that counts as spending too. So people say, your budget's growing. Well, $2 billion in the rainy day fund counts as budget total. And so we are doing that. The other thing that we tried to do too in the last 12 years under Governor Haslam and Lee is get our pension plan under, because you want to make sure that the people who've worked for the state, regardless of if it was in the 50s and 60s or 70s or today, if you retire from the state of Tennessee, you know that you're going to get your pension or your 401k or whatever it may be. And so all of our pension plans are running anywhere from 98% funded to 102% funded.
Wow.
Which you see other states that are
very low.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you take
the whole pension thing with New York and the Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
And how they had to bring in the National Guard because they removed all the prison guards in New York. It's a massive thing that most people aren't talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And so when you look at the savings, the rainy day fund, when you look at the security of the pension fund, and then you look at our low tax structure, but we still are growing and we're still doing well. And then the last thing that we're not doing is using our recurring money for recurring expenses. All right.
Or freeing money for recurring expenses.
Right. Okay. And so what we're doing is we're not using non-recurring money for recurring expenses. And so realistically, what we're doing is if you have your monthly check, right, at home, you're going to use it for your mortgage because that's a monthly expense. But all of a sudden, if you start using your bonus money
to pay your mortgage,
at some point you're going to have a problem because that bonus money is not always there.
Yep.
So we've been very careful about using recurring money for non-recurring items. So we're not when we do $1 billion in roads, or we build $1 billion in TCATs, or we put more money into
the $1 billion in schools.
Yes, and so the schools will be recurring, so we make sure that, but we don't spend everything that we have recurring. We do a lot of one-time money and infrastructure investments and a lot of that sort of stuff. But we never use non-recurring money for a recurring expense. And so the next budget year, we're not behind. We're always ahead. And it would take a real recession that would really put us behind the eight ball. So we feel like we're very secure in where we're at. I think that's why you see.
We're AAA bonded right now?
We're AAA. That's why I think.
But Nashville is not AAA bonded anymore, correct?
I'm not sure if they are or not. But we are for a while. But our final.
The United States as a whole is not AAA bonded, I don't think.
The U.S. just got dropped a couple weeks ago to whatever rating that would be. So we feel very secure financially where we're at.
What, besides Tennessee feeling like America, what makes Tennessee so beautiful as a state? I know it's the mountains and the rivers, but like compared to the other 50 states.
I mean, it's the people of Tennessee, right? I mean, look, once again, living in Crossville's a retirement community. We have
it was just my observation.
Right.
I've stopped at Crossville a couple times, but I've never spent time there. And it was incredible to see that nearly 30% of the population of Cumberland County is retirees.
Yes.
From all around the country.
That's right.
And it was really unique to see 5 golf courses on top of each other, basically within like 6 miles of each other. And some of the food places I got to experience. I think there was a big complaint from people that are like, oh, there's no good local food in Cumberland County. And I'm like, I think you're wrong. I think there's some delicious food in Cumberland County. You just need to go to the right spot.
There is. I mean, look, we don't have a lot of franchises except for fast food, right? We have a Ruby Tuesdays, but most everything's locally owned and locally done. And so what happens is when you start talking to people who are in our state or who moved to our state, and I had this conversation with this gentleman from California one time, and I'm not knocking California, but
I can knock it on your behalf.
But he was sitting there, and I'm like, so once again, well, why did you choose? And I think this individual moved to Spencer, Tennessee, Van Buren County, which is even one of the smallest counties that we have.
It's close to Fall Creek Falls.
Yeah, it's right in Fall Creek Falls. And I said, well, how did you find this place? Well, I visited through here once. I've drove through here once. And I said, well, what's the most surprising thing? And he goes, well, let me just tell you. In California, we all think everybody's like us. Like we think everybody in the U.S. is exactly like we are. He said, then I've come through the South and I come to Tennessee and everybody's so friendly. And he goes, I was not expecting that. So I think what has made us successful is the people of Tennessee being so friendly, so open, so welcoming. It allows people when they come here and experience Tennessee for the first time, regardless of where you are, they're like, man, I really like that place. And I think it gets back to why that person said it felt like America. Is because people were friendly and willing to open up their homes, help them out. You know, in Tennessee, for the most part, the vast majority of people, if you need help and you pick up a phone or you're on the side of the highway, somebody's going to stop and try to help you.
Well, there's a reason we're called the volunteer state.
That's right.
Just look at the 2020 tornadoes that came through Davidson County and Putnam County. The flooding that just happened and how people stepped up to volunteer in all in East Tennessee.
Yeah.
What are some of the best hidden gems in this state that are your favorites?
That's really good. So I go on food. So, you know, there's a lot of different, like best burgers in the state. I love eating hamburgers and there's a lot.
Well, I know you do that huge burger cookout.
Yeah, we do burgers and burgers.
What's your favorite burger in the state of Tennessee? Because mine right now, that's hard.
It's a tough one.
Mine is either Gabby's.
Yeah, Nashville. That's good.
Southern State and South Fulton.
Okay.
Tennessee.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw Deer.
Bullborn Ranch.
Okay.
It's a bison farm. They do these smash burgers, like bison smash burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Cletus. But I've never really experienced burgers in like Knoxville or like Maryville in East Tennessee.
Yeah. So I would tell you, if you're in Memphis, and this is going to sound strange, one of the best burgers is Tops Barbecue.
Really?
You got to go downtown across from the hospital. I think they've been using the same grease for like 60 years. Like it's phenomenal.
Good old grease.
It's phenomenal. Yeah. It's really good. And then here in Nashville.
Is it a brisket burger or is it?
No, it's a burger. It's a burger. Straight up. Straight up burger at a barbecue place. It's really good.
Potato buns?
I don't think so. I don't think they're potato buns.
Okay.
I think it's just a good old-fashioned burger.
Okay.
And then here in Nashville, I think it's Bare Bones. It's a butcher shop.
Butchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I haven't had it yet.
You got to go. It's really good.
Okay.
It's really good. And then if you ever come back to Crossville, I will tell you the best burger right up there with them is the burger at Plateau Bowling Lanes.
That's what you told me last. That's a
hidden gem right there.
We're coming back out in the fall, so
It's called the Striker Burger. It's really good.
The Striker Burger.
Yeah.
Double beef patty, or describe it.
No, it's single. No, I mean it's single. It's just you're not expecting it. It's more of a thin type of burger than it is a thick burger. The bun is grilled perfectly. It has the right things on it, and it's just fresh, and it's really good.
All right, so a question I wrote down. What does the state need to do to remain competitive against places like Texas, North Carolina, Florida, in attracting top tier companies?
Yeah, I mean,
I know we just
kind of highlighted a little bit of it.
Nashville just we had a bid out, or somebody in Tennessee had a bid out from a Fortune 500 company. They decided to go to North Carolina, I believe. So how can we remain competitive?
Well, one is you have to develop your workforce, right? I think one thing that everybody's experiencing is a lack of workforce, right? Whether it's in healthcare or anything else. So one, you got to figure out how to address that through K through 12 education, associate's degrees, whatever it may be, vocational skills. You got to do a better job of addressing it, making sure we're meeting the needs of the workforce. That's the first thing. The second thing is making sure you're not at a competitive disadvantage on taxes and regulation and other things. And I don't think we are at that point at all. The other thing is last week I was at an event with Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And you also,
Governor of Arkansas.
Yeah, and you have to celebrate in their successes. Look, you also have to realize, we may be competing with other states in the South, but every time someone in the South gets something, it leads to an aspect that Tennessee could.
Oh, and from a distribution side of things, we have the tractor trailers and the force to move goods and materials that most states don't.
Yeah. I mean, look, and so if Arkansas gets something, that's great because that puts the Southeast and that helps us for the next one. Because also you have to remember there's a lot of people who are looking to move to the Midwest or other areas, but the South seems to be really hot. And so I think we're very well situated. Look, one of the reasons when you talk to XAI is that they chose Memphis is we haven't really ever used the Mississippi River as a shipping export to market. You also have FedEx. So they were looking at the Mississippi River because they're right on the river. They're looking at FedEx as being the global carrier.
And so the river primarily for the cooling systems of the computers, correct?
More for shipping. They created their own system there, and that's the interesting conversation that people are having. They created their own system where they use gray water, brown water to cool all their supercomputers.
Oh, interesting. So they're not using
They're not using the aquifer. They're not using the Mississippi River. They're using the brown gray water, and when it comes in, it cools the supercomputers, and they run it through this membrane, and it leaves cleaner than it came in. Imagine that.
So they can put it back into not into city water, but
it goes back to the plant
sewage
to be used.
Wow!
But it's cleaner than when they
come up with that system.
One the first, and they pay for it all themselves.
Okay,
and so
because we're in Memphis. Was it closer to Germantown where they took over?
No, well, it's South Memphis, more towards Elvis Presley Boulevard near the Mississippi. It's where there's a lot of gas companies over there.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is changing how they do stuff. They use the Tesla supercomputer batteries, because the problem is with when you're doing this high end computer systems, the electricity could fluctuate in microseconds.
Yeah.
And so they're using these batteries to make sure that they don't blow the circuit for TVA and anybody else over there. Memphis Light and Gas.
Wow.
And so they make sure that they maintain.
These other companies need to be following that model for other.
Yes, I mean, and so it's like when I went to, like, we're all about conservation, but when I went to Las Vegas and we went around and we were meeting with individuals, their number one resource that they have a problem with is water.
Yeah.
And so they're like, how do we keep more water? They created special systems around their AC units so the condensation
it drips back in.
Yes, where they can save it, and they do all this other stuff. And so
we just said that as of this recording, we've had more rain in the first 5 months than in the last 50 years.
Yeah, we have a lot on the plateau.
Yeah.
When it's wet on the plateau and we're on the top of the place, it's wet. And so, but look, so we have a lot of benefits in our state. And, West Tennessee offers something a little different than Middle, and East offers a little bit different than Middle. And so we can meet the needs of everybody, but first we have to make sure we have the workforce, or we'll be in the mix, but we won't get it.
What are your thoughts on the investment of nuclear that the state's done? I think that's been a really good initiative. I think that's been really innovative. There's no other state that's really dedicated. I think it was $125 million that you got just dedicated over the last 2 years to investment into nuclear, and now you're seeing like successes in Oak Ridge with the micro reactors and stuff. So what's your thoughts behind this investment?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, we don't have to have the nuclear reactors like you see at Watts Bar and other places,
Three Mile Island,
or Sequoia, or Hartsville, and so you have all these small cell type of things, small reactors, and so the plan is for the state to build 3 or 4 of these with TVA on the Clinch River. First one's going in a little bit north of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. That's where the money was allotted. It's going to be great. And then there's the interesting thing is in Oak Ridge, you have all these other new startup companies who are coming to Oak Ridge that have a little different, well, let's try it with this and try it with that. And they have one model. It looks like a warehouse. It doesn't look like anything else, but it's a nuclear facility that runs differently, that doesn't have as much waste as what other nuclear facilities have. And so they're working through those issues.
Is it a copy of one of the Japanese models?
Similar, I think. Okay. Yeah, I think the company, I could be mispronouncing, it's like Kairos.
Okay.
Starts with a K, not a C. And so we have a huge opportunity. I mean, Oak Ridge gives us the capability to be into the energy sector.
Yeah.
And UT does.
And
Oak Ridge
TVA.
And TVA. So
one of the best success stories probably of the federal government.
Yeah.
TVA.
I mean, one of them. Yeah. I mean, everybody has a little issue with certain things, regardless of what it is. But at the end, we're partnered in the East Tennessee model to really expand that. In Crossville, we're working with new companies that have come in and put in a wind tunnel in there. Also, to bring in a supercomputer from up in, I believe they're trying to get it from Michigan in there for Tennessee Tech. And so all of a sudden, all this can bleed into one another, which will help businesses and help continue to improve access into the rural areas.
Speaking of businesses, the next question I had written down is, how can local entrepreneurs and small business better access state-level resources without getting lost in red tape?
Yeah, that's a big one, right? And look, I would say one, reach out to Economic Community Development. They can help walk you through. There's also these great groups regionally all throughout state called development districts. In Crossville areas, Upper Cumberland Development District, they help a lot of small businesses through the grant process, through funding, through applications, through permit processes, where they have the staff to really help, and they help you any day that you call. And so trying to work with these groups to help you mitigate it as the state tries to the best that we can to reduce any regulation. That's one of the problems we have with childcare in the state, is the amount of red tape and the amount of things that are required for you to get in the business, to start the business, to provide something as easy as childcare to the parents who are working. And it's such a problem that half the people, before they even get 2 weeks in the process, just quit because they can't figure it out. And so we're trying to go back and do some streamlining on that. We passed some legislation this year to help with that.
What's been the biggest thing that you've learned being the Speaker of House about leadership?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't force people to do things, right? You can provide the vision, you can provide what you think. You still have to listen to people. You still have to try to provide the best you can, the advice you can. But the other thing is, once people trust you and believe in you and they understand you, then you can actually lead to a different level. And so part of it is you have to earn their trust. They're not going to give it to you. But if you don't have it, it's hard to be the leader or maximize the leadership capability. I'm still learning all the time. But, you're going to make mistakes. That's okay. I remember I had an individual, Randy Boyd, who's the president of the University of Tennessee, hugely successful entrepreneur. And what he says is every successful entrepreneur has failed in a business, has failed. But you learn from it, you move forward, and you get better. And so you're always trying to get better. You're always trying to get there. But at the end, in the house, we have 98 other members, plus myself, 99. They're not all going to agree. But if you listen enough and you work enough and you have the trust, then you can try to help mitigate this and get us to a point where we can all move forward.
If you had full bipartisan support, what policy would you like to see passed for Tennessee?
Well, we've had some bipartisan support. We are a supermajority, and I think the other side would tell you we don't need them, right? But at the end, you want as many people as you can. I mean, look, I think one of the biggest things for us is on violent crime getting bipartisan support. It affects businesses, it affects individuals. Protecting victims is the right way to go.
And it seemed, my observation watching the news of Nashville, it seems like violent crime is skyrocketing. With all the recent shootings.
It could be.
Yeah.
And so Memphis the same way, but it shouldn't be fighting crime should not be a partisan issue, in my point. It should be bipartisan. We've had a little bit of bipartisan, 2 or 3 on the other side will vote for some of our stuff. But realistically, we should be more about protecting victims and stopping crime and doing more to stop crime, which then will adversely affect, if you're looking at Nashville and Tennessee success, it's tourism, which is what you highlight all the time. And crime is the first thing that will destroy your tourism if you're not careful, especially if it's in downtown Nashville or Memphis. It will destroy what you have. And then all of a sudden you don't need a recession anymore to have a problem. You have a huge problem.
What's one piece of Tennessee history that people don't know about but they should know about?
Oh, wow.
Because I learned about the prisoner of war camp when we were together. Yeah. But Tennessee is so full of American history.
Well, I'll tell you something. And so this is fascinating. I'm sure you've been to Memphis multiple times. Mm-hmm. There's a great cemetery down there.
Yeah.
Elmwood, I believe.
Yeah. It's close to downtown, right?
Yeah, it's right downtown.
Yeah.
And they do a audio tour of the cemetery. And the cemetery is broken up into decades and centuries.
Oh, that's great.
And so, like, as you're going through...
Is it kind of like Mount Olivet in Nashville?
I don't know about Mount Olivet. I haven't been there, so I need to do that.
Okay. But I don't think they have an audio tour. We can talk about it after.
Yeah. But so they have an audio. So you can go in and they'll talk about the yellow fever outbreak. And here's where all these graves are, and here it is. And then you just kind of go through them. It's like the Memphis history of this is when this happened, and Memphis almost didn't survive. And it is a great historical aspect of the Memphis area and the city of Memphis on how they survived over the years. And they have all kinds of famous elected people, normal people that are buried there. It's a wonderful monument.
Where on the education side of things, where could the state improve?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think making sure that people are proficient in reading and proficient in math. And sometimes in education, we want to teach width instead of depth, and trying to teach more depth than width, trying to get our testing structure. If we're asking the teachers to do a test, then they should get immediate feedback on that student so they know how to move forward. If they're not getting that, what's the purpose of the test? You're just testing. So making sure that what we're doing has purpose and has a goal and can be used. But at the end of the day, we have to have people who graduate high school that are ready to go in the workforce. And when you talk to businesses in our state, a lot of times they'll tell you that they don't have the soft skills to be successful, or there's things that they're lacking that they're having to teach. We're also telling people that, for a long time that you had to go to college to be successful. You don't have to go to college to be successful. And so trying to change some of those narratives. But at the end of the day is if we can make sure that when you graduate high school that you can read, you can write, you're proficient in math, and that you have the skills to join the workforce, we'll be successful. We'll be successful. And right now in Tennessee, third grade proficiency in reading is 37, 38%. Mm-hmm. And the only misconception I'll clear up is people think, well, if I can read your paper here, then that's proficient reading. Well, it's really not. It's about, can they comprehend it later, what they read? Do they know how to spell words? Is the grammar correct? There's a lot more that goes into proficiency than just reading the book. That's part of it. but there's a lot more that encompasses that.
What was how to word this? Over the last 5 years, Tennessee Nashville especially went through hell in a handbasket with the tornado, COVID, the riots, the bombing. And then it seems like over the last 5 years, Tennessee, from a weather standpoint, has been hit very hard. Massive tornadoes throughout the state, extreme flooding in Waverly, extreme flooding over in East Tennessee. How has the state handled basically preparing for these type of storms?
It's a very good question, and Governor Lee would tell you that it's been very tough because it seems like
it's one
he's had the most natural disasters.
We're just going to
inherit everybody.
Yeah.
And so this year we passed some legislation because of the Northeast, because what the problem you have with FEMA is the locals have to spend money to get reimbursed from FEMA.
Yeah, because you have to pay for your house to get...
Yeah, and so they have to pay for that road before they get funding. They have to pay for this before they get funding. Well, a lot of rural communities, if you think about it, they're not like Nashville. They don't have the funds to put out to wait for payment. So how do they improve? And so Governor Lee this year said, hey, we're going to set up a fund. We're going to put $100 million up there to help them start the process to clean out, because we can't wait 2 years for FEMA to come back. And so...
And the entire communities were destroyed.
Oh, absolutely.
Bridges gone, roads gone, lives lost.
Yeah, I mean, in North Carolina, it was hit harder, but you have some communities that you don't know if they'll come back, just how devastating it was. But the governor said, let's set up a fund after all this that we can put money in. So if we do have these natural disasters, we can immediately tap the fund, and then kind of like a rainy day fund, but a natural disaster fund. So we can go immediately into these communities and help them get back on their feet, and then we worry about reimbursing FEMA money later. Okay. So we've learned, and that's the thing about...
Are you guys one of the first in the states to introduce that type of model, or has
potentially
Florida had something like that, I think?
I don't know if Florida does or not, but Florida's very good. They've had a lot of hurricanes, and so they're very good at certain things. And
they can rebuild like that.
Correct. And so we watch what they've done and how can we do it different. And I think you saw TDOT this last time with everything that happened in the Northeast really look at Florida and really turn bridges around and roads around
very fast.
But we wanted to set up a fund, and the governor wanted to set up a fund that will help aid us in the future.
Is there any advice that you would give to Tennesseans weathering these storms from like a state level? Like, hey, we are here to help you guys. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of resources. I mean, look, as you said earlier, we're a volunteer state, so you have a lot of churches that were coming in. You have a lot of people who drove from Middle and West Tennessee to Northeast Tennessee to help out. You have TEMA that's immediately on the ground. They see it coming. One of the biggest things is I'll say is what happens, and sometimes is TEMA will send out alerts like flooding here or this here or likely here. Take those warnings seriously, because there was a lot of rescues where people are like, it's not going to affect me. And
they had to be rescued from trees.
Next thing you know is people lost lives because of it. And so TEMA doesn't put those things out just to put them out if they think it's a real issue. So let's heed the warnings, right, per se. Let's don't try to ride out some of these things. As TEMA says, don't ride them out. The second thing is the state's always going to be there to help you. And we're there to serve you. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get going, right? I mean, it does. But in the long run, the state will always be there to help get you back on your feet.
Let's go back to tourism. What are major successes that you're seeing in the tourism space right now for the entire state?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where you're at in our state, right? I mean, look, if you're on the plateau, we have the hidden jewel is all the creeks where you can kayak and do stuff, right? If you're...
I experienced Daddy's Creek for the first time.
Yeah, and so...
How it cuts through that mountain, and you're just like, this is really cool.
It's really cool, and what you'll see is a lot of people will come in 2 days post the rain, because, you can watch the water go up, and they'll all be parked at Shoney's at like 6 a.m., ready to go hit the different creeks. And so it really depends on where you are. Look, I think Nashville being a music city has helped. Memphis having soul and blues has really helped. The biggest single thing that I think has really propelled Tennessee in tourism, we have had Dollywood in East Tennessee, which really helps. And we saw during COVID, people wanted to drive places, not fly. And that's why we didn't see a downturn during COVID in Tennessee, because a lot of people were driving to Tennessee. We are 8 hours to the vast majority of America's population. The Nashville TV show, I think, was the single biggest thing that really ever happened in Middle Tennessee, because all of a sudden what happened is they saw Nashville, they saw country music, they saw the sights, and all of a sudden you had all these people say, I want to go visit Nashville. And so you could see it when I was first elected in 2010, 2011. You really didn't see people around downtown Monday through Thursday. You might see some on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. CMA Fest, which is about ready to go on, you would see a lot. But now you see people downtown all the time. It is all the time. Now there's a lot more growth and there's more people living there, but there's a lot more tourism there than ever. And so I think the Nashville show helped propel the state of Tennessee, to be honest with you.
If they're being in content creation, I think about this all the time. If there was a show that can impact Tennessee, what type of show would you like to watch? Like from a tourism level, from a heritage level, highlighting agriculture, like what would you like to watch?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, I watch the Opry a lot on TV. That really helped Tennessee back in the day too. The Grand Ole Opry still being on the radio everywhere. I mean, it makes Tennessee and Nashville people know about it. Look, I mean, I think so I watch the Opry. I like to watch some streaming things. I'm not sure that any of those would work in Tennessee on some of those things that I watch. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, what you do is you want to be the main thing about Tennessee is you want to be ourselves. We don't want to sell something that we're not.
Yep. And
so that could be bluegrass. That could be other things. It could be Elvis. It could be, which had a huge impact on West Tennessee as well. And so you have all these different opportunities, and I'm not sure it's any one thing that could change it. I think it's a variety of things, and never trying to, as we talked about earlier, put all your eggs in one basket, but things that you do and others do to bring awareness to how great and rich Tennessee is. Because a lot of people don't get outside 3 hours of their community a lot. And so, or go.
Most people don't even leave their neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I was trying to be a little bit more kind of.
I'll say how it is. People understand. If you weren't in politics, what would your day-to-day look like on the business development side of things?
It would be busy. So I would be traveling a lot into the area, the bank I at, we can go about as far as to Nashville, to Knoxville, and Chattanooga and up. So it's a more defined area. We're still a family-owned bank. It's not a corporate bank. It would be traveling to all those different counties, setting up meetings, talking to individuals, kind of like what I do, building relationships, and just trying to be there whenever the time comes. Not trying to take business away, but just saying, hey, if you ever need anything or you're not happy or want to do this, give me a shot. Let me have an opportunity to see if we can meet your needs.
What's the thing you're most proud of being in the position you're
in? Look, I think realizing how great our state is. I mean, like East, Midwest, Southeast, name it. It's our state is a very fortunate state, and we have great people.
And it's a gorgeous state.
It is.
Yeah.
And we have great people, and being able in my position to travel, to meet with people, and to see things that not everybody gets to see for various reasons, right? It could be to your point, you don't want to leave your house. It could be that, other things. But realistically, the biggest thing is the most frustrating part for me is as a state, and I know people say it tongue in cheek, but even when you say things tongue in cheek, sometimes there's truth to it, Yeah. And from Mountain City in East Tennessee to Memphis, is you hear a lot of people say, only if Memphis was in Mississippi, we'd be better, right? You kind of, would we? No, we wouldn't. People say it tongue in cheek, like, oh, I'm just kidding.
From a heritage standpoint, I don't think so.
No, and so
the role that Memphis played in the Civil War, I don't
think so either. But my thing is we need to stop talking like that.
Yeah.
Right. We don't need to be dismissing any parts of our communities across our state. We are a state. This is Tennessee. Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, Crossville, Paris, Tennessee.
Hey, Paris is beautiful. If you want some of the best catfish in the world,
it's Paris, Tennessee. That's right. And so let's don't dismiss one side of the state because we have a misunderstanding about what they are and how they are, right? Let's view them as Tennesseans and let's value them.
What's one of the small towns in Tennessee that everyone needs to know about?
I like Soda Pop Junction.
Where's that?
So that's
is that towards Bristol?
No, it's in Middle Tennessee. It's where Colonel Littleton's store is. That they have Soda Pop Junction's a restaurant there. That's why I call it Soda Pop Junction. And so it is a wonderful.
But it's in Junction, Tennessee, right?
I need to go back and look at my state before I get it wrong.
Yeah.
But it is a wonderful area in Tennessee, and it's like you're going back in history, and they have a great little town square there. It's wonderful.
how to word this question. On the sports side of things, Tennessee has some of the best college baseball teams. A terrible NFL team.
It could be changing.
What are your thoughts on Major League Baseball coming to Tennessee?
No, I think there's a great opportunity for it. I know there's a lot of investors who are trying to get that point, right? I mean, I think, look, we have NFL, we have NBA. Hopefully we'll get baseball. We have soccer. We have hockey. And so we have all the aspects.
We have Bristol.
One of
the best racetracks.
Yeah, Bristol, and they're trying to get to Nashville and so forth.
And then you have in your county, Flat Rock,
which is the motorsport.
Amazing. Yeah.
You have Bonnaroo if you're looking. I mean, there's
everything.
There's a lot of great things here. One of the things I think as we're looking at this, I also think we have a lot of sports, but we also need to invest in performing arts as well. That's just one of my things is if we want to compete for these bigger cities and provide things for everybody, sports is great, but we also need a performing arts center in Nashville that's much better than what we currently have in the basement of a building downtown. And so in Cumberland County, the Cumberland County Playhouse is a vital part of our community. It brings in people from all 50 states. It brings in people internationally who want to come to plays and do things. And then it provides different things for your community, for the children, other things to do as well.
So I've only had we were filming there for about 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I only have about 25 minutes of experience. And I watched the live show for about 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And my time there, I grew up in live play productions and show choir and doing all that stuff. It reminded me of how much I missed that world.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see some shows there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Look, you have Memphis has some, Nashville has some. You have a children's theater in Nashville. You have a Cumberland County Playhouse. Cookeville has one. The Brown Theater in Knoxville.
Yep.
Clarence Brown Theater. But you also need that aspect of your society. In Cumberland County, the number of kids who do summer programs there and who are part of the plays, it really does bring them out. So you could have a kid who's really shy in school who can do this, and you put them in that environment and they thrive, and it changes their whole personality, right?
Yep.
Whereas sports may be that for somebody else. It just might be what they're good at. And so trying to invest more in performing arts too, I think, is benefit for the community as a whole.
What's the legacy you want to leave for your children?
Man, that's a good question. I just want them to say that we did the best we could, and hopefully we're better off today than we were. I don't want us to go backwards, but I want us to continue to move forward and put us in a spot to where when they take over that they feel like we've done a good job.
How do you intersect the conversation of faith and politics?
That's tough, but that's one thing I really admire about Governor Lee, to be honest with you, is he talks about his faith all the time. Mm-hmm. And you just don't see many elected officials that do that. You just don't, because it's like, I can't do that. I'm going to offend somebody. And he's just like, this is who I am. This is what I do. Anytime you have a conversation with him, he wants to talk about his faith. One of the other things is I had an opportunity to meet Coach Rick Barnes at University of Tennessee basketball. What he does for those young men off the court as well, great basketball team, great coach, but what he instills in them as far as faith and values is tremendous as well. So you can't be afraid not to talk about it. You have to realize there's certain aspects that you don't want to be pushy about it to a certain point. But I admire Governor Lee for saying, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to talk about. And I haven't known anybody that's ever pushed back on him when he starts talking about his faith.
How does that role play in your life?
Look, it plays a role. It really is. Look, when I go talk to kids, what I found interesting is when I share it with kids who are in high school, they return it and talk about their faith. And so you're like, hey, that's really fascinating. That's awesome, because you realize that they're in tune and they're not afraid, and you have hope for the next generation because of the principles that we're founded on as a country. And look, we're all here for a purpose. People can believe what they want to believe, but I believe we're created by God.
Yeah.
And there's no other explanation in my book. And so when you can share that and do that, and you hope that someone can have everlasting life, then that's great. But have students in high school willing to share their testimony with you is something I have not experienced in the past a lot.
Mm-hmm. If you were to describe your perfect itinerary for the state, let's give it 7 days. Where would you start? Where would you go? And where would you finish?
Oh, wow. Does 7 days get me there?
I don't think so.
Do I have a plan?
I've crossed the entire state 3 times in 7 days.
Okay.
So it's doable.
It's doable because it's not just stops, right?
We stopped at 14 places each day.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So,
but my days are 3 a.m. to 11 p.m.
So that's
there was we
were close to like 12 days and hours.
Yeah. There was one day, you'll find this fascinating. We filmed 9 waterfalls in one day for our waterfall video. We started in Cookeville and made our way down. We did Virgin Falls first. We started that hike at 4 o'clock, maybe 3:30. The sign was down, and I didn't realize how intensive a hike that was.
Yeah.
Because of the evolution. I forgot the word. Elevation change of like 1,600, 1,800 feet, and you're going back to those hills. The sign was down, so we got lost for 3 miles. So we're back in this country. No cell service, no walkie-talkies. That hike it should be an 8-mile round trip hike. It took us like 7 hours. It was a long time back there. Yeah. But after that, we knocked out Fall Creek Falls, Virgin Falls, Burgess Falls. We did 9 waterfalls in one day, and it was an intense day.
Yeah, I bet so.
All right, 7-day itinerary for Tennessee.
Well, I mean, I would start east and work my way west the best I could, and it would look like, what was the old comic Dennis? I
know what you're talking about.
Kid.
Yeah.
Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
And he'd be like going everywhere, so it would kind of look like I was Dennis the Menace going across state. Look, I would start up in upper East Tennessee. I would start with Bristol, obviously. There's some great views up in Hawkins County, Rogersville area. Work my way to Greenville. If you're in Greenville at sunrise or sunset, when that sun comes over the mountains right there, you look like you're so close to the mountains in Greenville, to the Smoky Mountains. It's really close. Work my way over to, Sevier County, Clingman's Dome, one of the highest points in the state. Work my way back down into the Knoxville area. Well, I would probably go up into Claiborne County, into the tunnel going between Tennessee and Kentucky.
Yep.
Gorgeous little town up there, if you've ever been there. Gorgeous. Work my way into Knoxville. The Sun Sphere, I was living in Knoxville when the Sun Sphere was built for the World's Fair.
Yeah.
I would probably try to hop on the river at some point and head down the river. Yeah. Let's see. I would also I've been around Oak Ridge all my life, so I may not make that stop, but I would work my way down to Chattanooga.
Would you go up to Wartrace at all and do some off-roading?
That'd be fun. Yeah. I mean, I would love to do some horseback riding up in Big South Fork as well, up in that area, because you can do that. And that's gorgeous as well. In Chattanooga, I would try to time it when they had their concerts downtown, when you had like 8 different stages and seeing that's gorgeous. Then I would hit south, and I would, there's a restaurant in Jasper, Tennessee, in Marion County. I think it's called the Top of the Rock or Top of the World.
They just reached out to us recently, and it's supposed to have like the most incredible views for a restaurant. Because there's an old rock quarry, correct, that they're on top of? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to go.
Yeah.
How was the food?
It's good. It's really good.
But it's more of the views.
Oh, it's all good.
Okay.
The views make the food even better.
Yeah,
right?
of course. We eat with our eyes.
Oh, and I would have stopped in near Madisonville, between Sweetwater and Madisonville, for the Lost Sea.
Oh, yep. I've tried going 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
And each time it's been closed. Yeah.
Well, sometimes when it rains a lot.
It floods. So I need to call them and just say, hey, I'm coming out on the Tuesday. Let's schedule this.
Oh, it's fine. I went there when I was a kid. It's awesome. Probably hit Lookout Mountain, Rock City.
Yep.
Work my way
more on the Civil War site, or have you been to Sunset Rock on Lookout Mountain?
I have not been to Sunset Rock.
So it's on the backside of the mountain, and it's looking at kind of like Georgia and Tennessee. Absolutely stunning views.
Oh, wow.
From the backside of the mountain. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I may hit a golf course or 2 along the way.
Okay.
I'm not going to claim which ones, but probably hit a couple.
I think I know.
Yeah. and then I would hit down into the Jack Daniels and Colonel Littleton's area. There is a great small restaurant in downtown Lynchburg, where
Barrow House,
or
Miss Mary Mobo's,
yes,
both of those are fantastic.
That's a stop on any direction, but it's wonderful.
If you're thinking Barrow House, that brisket crack sandwich.
Okay.
It's a brisket grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. Well, we'll give it a shot. I know it was a community served table.
Okay. Yeah. Mary Miss Bubba's. Yeah.
It was fabulous. And then I would kind of work. I guess I would stay south of I-40 for a while. And then I probably would come back into Jackson, and then I would work my way back into Northwest Tennessee.
Would you go through like Lexington, Centerville, that type of route, or more?
Well, I would go. Yeah,
go down to Shiloh.
I've been to Shiloh. Shiloh would be fun. Great state park there too.
Mm-hmm.
It might get me. If I was going to stay that far south, I would. Then I'll shoot straight up to Jackson. Because in Jackson, there's a lot of great 5-lane highways coming out of Jackson. So you can kind of hit northwest depending on where you want to go.
And you can stop at Brooke Shaw's Old Country Store.
That's a great place, too. Yeah, I enjoy it. I saw you all stop there. He's a great guy.
Yeah, Brooks is a great guy.
Really good.
Yeah.
One of the funnest things I ever did was make milkshakes with him there. We made them all.
Oh, really? Of Brooks? Yeah.
You need to do it.
Okay.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And then working Northwest Tennessee.
Like a Real Foot Lake, O'Brien County type stuff,
a little bit of everything.
Have you been to West Squirrel, the winery in Northwest?
Yeah, I know Bill Sanderson.
Yeah,
it's great.
That place is great.
It's really nice. In Northwest, it takes you a little longer to get places, so you got to devote a little bit more time. And then come back down. I want to go through Unilever and have the ice cream.
Yep.
And then I would work my way back and to end up in Memphis. And
it seems like you need a full 30 days.
Well, I'm telling you, that's why I was sitting here like 7 days. I'm like,
people ask us all the time. They're like, "How can I do like Nashville and Middle Tennessee in like a week?" I'm like, I think you need a year.
Yeah,
just work remote and travel.
But there's this. I was watching. Sometimes I watch Tennessee Crossroads too on ABS.
Yeah.
And they were down in Tullahoma, Manchester. I can't remember where it was. And it was like this little old tea house or this tea house thing. And they had like all these nice little desserts or food that went along with the tea. And it looked fabulous.
So there's a tea house in Sevierville. No, it's in Gatlinburg.
Okay.
It's called Wild Plum Tea House. I've never seen a feature on it. My side job is I give private luxury tours of the city of Nashville to Fortune 500 CEOs and executives. And a CEO told me about this place. He's like, every time my family is in Gatlinburg, we go to this place. It's a hole in the wall in the back mountains. Bizarre food, like bizarre German food, but like fresh made day of.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Wild Plum Tea Room. That's what it's called.
Wild Plum Tea Room.
Yeah.
Look, another great thing would be to visit all the different types of parades we have in Tennessee.
Oh, and just like the small town festivals.
Oh, yeah.
The Banana Pudding Festival.
Monterey. You have RC Moon Pie Festival.
Yeah, we just had, they just had a chocolate gravy or chocolate. Chocolate gravy festival.
You have Polk Salad Festival.
No, what's that?
Yeah, so it's Polk Salad Festival. It's over in I believe it's around Jackson County, Tennessee. And it's an annual event. They took something that was non-edible and made it edible. And so that's what they kind of put out.
The festivals in Townsend, Tennessee, the Sasquatch Festival and the Scottish High Game, Scottish, whatever they're doing over there.
Yeah.
It draws like 25,000 people to this.
Yeah, it's crazy. We had, there's a guy named Mark Baldwin in Crossville who did the same thing. He called it Bigfoot. Bigfoot Festival. But, we got a couple strawberry festivals as you got the,
in Humboldt, Tennessee. Yeah.
That's the big one.
That's the big one. Yeah.
In Tennessee as well. You have the Paris Fish Fry.
Yep.
Right.
The largest fish fry.
It's like the festivals and the parades that we have is very unique as well. Each community is kind of fits around, and they're very proud of them, which makes it even better.
Well, last question. What is the state of Tennessee doing the best at now?
Making sure that we're using your taxpayer dollars wisely and not putting them in places that will cause us harm long-term budget-wise or any other reason. And understanding that our success doesn't get driven from the state. It gets driven from the businesses and the people of the state. Our success comes from you. It doesn't come from us. And so us realizing how we measure success, I think makes us very unique to other places. More people will tell you, well, the government created this many jobs. The government didn't create any jobs.
No, it was employers.
And so they may have creating opportunities for somebody, but they didn't create the jobs. Now, government can harm a lot of people if you're not careful, whether it's through education or other things. And there's all kinds of debates on politics. But at the end of the day, in Tennessee, we understand what our role is, how we want it to be limited, and that if we can empower you and give you the tools and the resources and the things to be successful, we'll be better off long term.
Well, Cameron, thank you so much for coming in from Crossville today to be on today's show. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, we have some really big things that we're launching soon, so make sure that you're following us on all the social media platforms. Give Cameron a follow as well while you're doing that. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.